coming to you live from CBT Studios in the heart of Roseville, California. I'm your host, Matt, and joined with me as always is my co-host,
Roger.
And this is the Cryptid vs. Cryptid podcast. Let's get right into this episode. Continuing the 2-week streak.
We'll see how long this one lasts.
Yeah, just some things. This episode will come out, but there's some real life background stuff going on. Obviously, I'm getting a new job. You know that. They don't. So the next episode may be pushed back depending on how the change goes, since I'll be coming back to the light instead of just living in the moonlight as I have been for the last 2 years. So we may miss out the mark on getting the next episode out on time, but it opens up the possibility of actually getting on a really good schedule and being able to do more with the show, since we'll be up during the day, both of us now, and it won't be limited to here's our 1 or 2 day window, or Matt has to stay up until 3 o'clock in the afternoon to start recording an episode.
Soon we'll also be having pretty much the same days off, so it should align pretty well as well.
Yeah, no, it'll give us, you could get off of work and I'd be like, hey, let's get this episode out of the way, and it could be a random day of the week instead of our, like, realistically 1 day window of recording an episode. It gives me a lot more time to edit and do all that stuff. And then we could pursue some more projects that we've been looking to start with the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But with that little rant out of the way, if you enjoy what we do here, send us a message or something like that, like an email, for instance. You can send us an email at
cryptidversuscryptid@gmail.com.
That is CRYPTIDVSCRYPTID@gmail.com. And we got some social media if you want to check that out. Cryptid vs. Cryptid on Instagram. And a special announcement, we are working with a friend of the show. You guys have probably heard him on a couple episodes, Devrin. So shout out to you. He's working on a little project, and as soon as that's ready to go, we're going to have a special surprise for our show most likely, and we want to throw some support his way for helping out and coming on the show when he did. Hopefully he'll come on again in the future. I think that's all that I wanted to cover before we hop into the episode.
Yeah, there's not much else. We have a TikTok, Twitter, and like you said, Instagram.
Yes, that's 2 of the 3 social medias that I never use, but have access to.
It's just there to use if anyone wants it. So
yeah, the Twitter notifications never end still. It went from getting recommended things in Spanish that I can't read to, I guess, Twitter models. I don't know. I just get a bunch of model pictures now on my fucking Twitter feed and Twitter messaging. But with that, what are we covering today, Roger?
Covering the Monkey Man of Delhi in India and the Fouke Monster.
Yeah, so going, because you picked these ones, because once again, since our scheduling for the episodes aren't perfect, it was kind of a last minute thing, but when I first read them, I was like, okay, great. We're going back kind of into just 2 more Bigfoot territories. Mm-hmm. But I was pleasantly surprised, because these guys they got some good differences, especially one of them.
They are connected to Bigfoot. Everyone's had their theories that these are other Bigfoot sightings, but they're just kind of weird and interesting for all the backstory and stuff.
Yeah, so first on the bracket, we have the Fouke Monster. Do you want to take us away with our Fouke Monster history?
No, I'll take the Delhi.
Alright, then I'll take us on the Fouke Monster trail. In the early 1970s, reports started flying in claiming to have seen an ape-like creature that has been prowling the area of Fouke, Arkansas. There was a report of an attack on a couple in their home. More reports flooded in of sightings of a creature prowling the nearby woods and roads. Reports had become so popular that they attracted the attention of filmmakers, who went on to make the classic film The Legend of Boggy Creek. This movie was very popular over the whole country and made an estimated $20 million at the time. The popularity of this creature also brought about a festival of the creature that brings in profit to support the local school system. Is this creature a separate branch of the Bigfoot family, or is it simply another hoax created to make more money for the community? So, I also want to preface this before we get in. It is currently 4:15 in the afternoon as we're recording this. I've been up since 5 this morning, so if I slur, there's my excuse. I also wrote these histories at about 7 o'clock this morning when I was very, very tired, so obviously not my best work. As I was reading it, I didn't proofread.
It didn't help that we sprang forward too, so
yeah,
we lost.
I totally forgot about that. But this guy's very interesting because, you see a lot of film of cryptids. There's a lot out there, but they're not extremely popular. But The Legend of Boggy Creek is a classic film, and the $20 million isn't adjusted for inflation. So in like the 1970s, this was a really big pull-in, and I believe they only spent like $160,000 to make the film, and they used local people as actors.
That's some pretty good profit right there. Yeah, this one, it kind of just happened, and the reports started flooding in. I don't know the time frame of this one as well as the Monkey Man, but it went from the 70s. It's still going, isn't it, to present?
Sightings wise, I think they have a couple sightings a year. The only thing that I really know that continues nowadays is the festival. It got started in 2013, and it's kind of something they do. My big focus when I was looking into this was a lot of like the money making they made off of it. Because for me at least, when I was looking, there's only the one big sighting. There's been other small ones, but it was just the one big one, so I kind of took my research in a different approach.
Yeah, there's been a couple sightings. There's the couple getting attacked in their house. I think one of the very first sightings was a man was driving down a highway or something, and he got attacked. His car had a bunch of scratch marks on it, and then police started trying to find this creature, put out a bounty for it, but no one ever found it, and then the other one happened.
Yeah, which brings up an interesting thing. If this creature is part of the Bigfoot family, I really do think he's an offshoot or a different branch that evolved or whatever, because he is very, very aggressive. Because if I can recall from the most popular sighting, the one where the couple were attacked, the thing like reached in the homes, I think it was the brother, the husband tried to like scare it off by shooting at it, and then as the husband's coming back is when he gets attacked by the creature before it disappears. And then obviously the car one you just brought up.
That one, so what happened, they shot it and there was no blood on the floor either. Like when they went outside, the police looked and there was no blood anywhere. I think there were some signs of like scratch marks and footprints that they'd never seen before. For the when it happened, I think it was a girl, so it's probably the wife that went out, and well, she wasn't even out, she just woke up and saw this big hairy creature in her room with red eyes, and so no one knows how it really broke in, but it was in there.
I think that's also the basis of The Legend of Boggy Creek, the movie, is that attack, just because it's the most prolific one of them all. Is there anything else we need to cover in the history? Because, the other big thing in The Legend of Boggy Creek, the movie, is that, it made a fuck ton of money, and it went on to make a lot of sequels and stuff, branches off, a lot of biographies for the incident. And it's just, this is one of the stories that is, while it's a lesser known cryptid in my opinion, has had some of the largest profits, aside from like Bigfoot or Nessie, who are two of the most profitable of all the cryptids.
Yeah, not much else I can think of. This one's just like surprisingly profitable about how they made it.
Yeah, and I think there's just minor sightings after this where they see it crossing the road at one point.
It's scratching cars.
Yeah, there is one other interesting one, like kind of story, that this cryptid became like so popular in the community to hunt that the police had to put out a no weapons order for some time before it died off, because so many people were just running in the forest with their guns trying to hunt some strange man-looking creature, and they were afraid somebody would get hurt. But that just shows you how like prolific this creature was in this little town.
Yeah.
All right, then let's hop into our characteristics, stats, and abilities. So no abilities, we'll just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Characteristics, we have 7 feet tall, 250 to 300 pounds. Now I put in quotations 10 feet tall because there was one report that somebody said it was like 10 feet tall, close to 800 pounds, but it was only one report compared to all the others that were saying it was 7 to 8 feet tall.
Yeah, every report I saw was 7 feet. I didn't even get the pounds. It was just that it was 7 feet tall, and it was a big, hairy creature.
I'm sure the 250 to 300 is just somebody. Like, if it was this tall and like a Bigfoot-esque creature, this is what it would be. Another interesting one was 3 toes. A lot of the tracks were said to only have 3 toes instead of the 5.
Yeah, it's pretty much why when they went in looking for this creature after that big house incident, that's what the police found. They were like, these tracks don't really match anything else we know.
Yeah, and that shows the start of the differences between this creature and your typical Bigfoot kind of creature. And then we also have claws, which was another one that was different than your typical Bigfoot creatures. Instead of just having fingers and fingernails, which you would think, this thing has actual claws. But I think that covers all the characteristics. Anything you want to add to the list that we got here?
No, not really. The only thing I can think of is that if there is no blood and they for sure hit it, which a lot of them say they did, I don't know what you would say for that, if that's just defense or because of the fur or...
Yeah, I think that would fall into like some kind of defense, just because then you could say its hide or fur kept the bullet from digging too far into the skin. But I don't think that's any kind of ability or anything to...
And it could also be that they were just using like a 22 or something, so they weren't using anything like high caliber.
Too high caliber to penetrate. Well, let's hop into some numbers. First, we're going to start off with intelligence. Now, I am going to argue for a lower intelligence here. We give Bigfoot creatures typically some fairly high intelligence, but this creature seems more of like an aggressive animal compared to like your smart Bigfoot. It's willingly attacking humans, which in most Bigfoot cases we don't see. It's leaving a lot of evidence around, and it just kind of doesn't seem to think out its kind of attacks or anything like that, and it doesn't show any kind of tool usage in any of the sightings.
Yeah, I will say that it knows how to get into houses though. Like, it has the knowledge of how to get into houses, so it knows how windows work and how they get open and stuff, so...
Okay, that's a fair point.
It's not enough to make it high. I would still probably say either like a 6 or 5, but...
Yeah, I think showing, like, its ability to infiltrate a house, which you don't see in a lot of typical cryptid cases that are more of, like, the survival wilderness kind of cryptid. So I think I'd be comfortable going with a 6 for this guy. And then... what about power? If we do factor in the claws into its stat, I think that might give it a +1 just because claws can be a dangerous tool.
It's dented cars too, along with scratching the cars with the claws and stuff.
And it does, if we take the window thing into effect, maybe it didn't. I don't think it reported a broken window, but it could have just broken through the window. But it's obviously hurting people. It attacked the one gentleman, and like you said, scratching things and destroying cars. Destroying, quote unquote, damaging is the more appropriate word. And then you have to take in effect, of course, it's 7 feet tall, 7 to 8, and then 250 to 300 pounds. It's going to have a lot of weight behind that punch. Yeah.
I'm thinking like a 7.
I will say this, I kind of want to pull something up real quick, because we did do our revamp for Bigfoot, and I want to see what kind of stats that we gave him for strength, because obviously he's a Bigfoot kind of creature.
I think his was 10, right? After the revamp of it.
Did we do?
We might have just went back in to the old one.
Yeah, because I'm not seeing it on here. Let me see if we did any edits on my phone. We might have just kept it the same and didn't really change too many stats around, but I know we changed...
We changed one. I don't think it was
I think we changed Mothman, so I know we were making changes at the time.
Yeah. I think if anything, Bigfoot was changed for intelligence, something else, but power was 10.
Yeah, his power is still 10. So I do want to throw that out there. This guy still is as strong as Bigfoot, I would say, plus with the claws. So with that argument in there, I think I'd have to go with a 10.
I'd maybe go with a 9.
A 9? You don't think he's as strong as an average Bigfoot?
I don't think as strong, but he could be. Even maybe add a net or claws, probably, yeah. I guess I could go with a 10.
A 10. Yeah, I was thinking with the addition of claws, it was definitely a 10 for me. Then moving on to defense. Now, I think, is where the factor of taking that bullet and not having any kind of penetration, blood left at the scene would really come into play. He is described having like long, thick red fur.
Mm-hmm.
So I know like scales and stuff and fur is what we take into account for a lot of defense when it comes to factoring in.
But it could also just be his hide as well. It could just be built tougher than other Bigfoot ones.
So I think if we lowball that bullet wound, we would go with a 22, not very powerful, but we could also highball it and go with a higher caliber, which would make it more impressive.
Yeah, because I don't know if it was, they really just say rifles, but they can count 22s as rifles. They're just repeaters, technically. But if it was like an actual high-powered rifle, you'd probably even have like an 8, either 6 or 8.
I feel pretty comfortable going with an 8. I'd almost want to go with a 7, but personally it just feels like he's a little higher than a 7 to me.
Yeah.
So you're okay with an 8?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Now, what are you thinking for mobility? Because this guy, he almost...
I'm trying to think. There was one, it's either this one or the next one that has high speed. I think it's this one they say is really fast. I think it might be the other one.
I think it is the other one.
Because one of the reports for one of them was that one guy would run away, but by the time he was running away, he would hear the thing right behind him, and then sometimes cut him off and jump in front of him. But I think that was just Monkey Man.
I think that is Monkey Man. I'll say the impressive feat for this guy when it comes to speed is when they chase him off from the house, the brother and the husband. When they're making their way back, the creature has rounded and made it back to them, and that's why he was able to attack the husband. Is just because he was able to catch back up with them even after receiving an injury. I don't know. I kind of want to go maybe also another thing with the humanoid body, because I was reading about the 3-toed thing, and they said that it would be really difficult for him to move because we have 5 toes to maintain balance with our feet, and him only having 3 would put him at a disadvantage. But then you could say they've adapted to it, blah blah blah. So what were you thinking?
Or like a 7, I would guess. If he's rounding about, especially if he's just like going around while they're going straight, and he catches them off guard at that point, it's still pretty impressive to be able to beat someone like that.
Yeah, and obviously their adrenaline's going to be high, so they're going to be moving pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can go with a mobility 7. Then we have HP, always a hard one to gauge.
Especially since there was like no damage on him, so you can't say, oh, the bullet hit him and he was high HP, because that's more of defense. I guess if you can say if he's healthy, because he's obviously pretty big. And usually the bigger you are, the more healthy you are. Say maybe another 7, I guess. Because I don't want to lowball and go almost close to half for 6. So
yeah, I can go with another 7. That seems fitting, and he's not like crazy big to where we'd have to scale it differently. He'd be around just like a little bit bigger than a human, and I would imagine we'd baseline HP for human at a 5.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, 7 fits. And then lastly, stealth. I mean, he's a Bigfoot creature, isn't seen a lot, but I don't think he'd be too stealthy. I mean, he breaks in the home and is caught almost right away.
Well, he's broken in, and I think the only reason he was caught was because what I heard was that the woman woke up, looked up, and then saw the red eyes with the giant figure standing in front of her.
And then he did manage to get around the 2 without being seen.
Yeah, there was no bushes probably rustled or anything. Otherwise, they wouldn't have known he was coming. Yeah. So either he went a long ways around, or he just went side by side them and just was caught to catch them off guard.
I'd probably be comfortable with maybe another 7 or an 8 here, unless you think lower.
I'm thinking close to half, but above it, probably like a 6.
A 6?
Because he is a big guy, and usually the bigger you are, the harder it is to hide your entire body.
Yeah. Okay, I can go with the 6. That one I was just kind of leaning, not really heavily on anything, just kind of throwing a number out. If you agreed, then whatever, but I agree with your 6 point. And now, to round out the stats, before we hop into Monkey Man, we have intelligence of 6, power of 10, defense of 8, mobility 7, HP 7, and stealth 6. A pretty well-rounded guy.
Yeah,
I would say even more well-rounded than any.
He'd probably be standing a good chance against Bigfoot as well. He's got a lot of the stats of Bigfoot, but some a little higher than the others.
Yeah, especially with the claws, I think would give him a natural advantage to Bigfoot, whereas whenever we pit Bigfoot against like another creature that is more of like a direct attacker, we would give Bigfoot a weapon to kind of help to counteract their claws or something like that.
If we put a fight between them, I think we'd have to do something different where we have to go up in power just for this guy.
Oh,
for
yeah.
that.
No, yeah, if we went higher than just 10, he'd probably be at 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And I think Bigfoot would be a point or two below him.
Yeah.
Bigfoot's almost like baseline 10.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And that brings us to the Monkey Man of Delhi.
All right. Good old Monkey Man. In recent years, a new type of ape-like cryptid has popped up in the capital of India. Not much is known about this cryptid, and reports tell of two different creatures, one of which is reported to be small and wearing a metal helmet, while another is more of a typical Bigfoot-type cryptid. While reports can vary on what it looks like, one thing remains true. This cryptid has been subject to many reports of injury that are stated to be the cause of people escaping this cryptid. While almost all of the reports of injuries, there are 2 deaths that were caused by people leaping off buildings while trying to escape. Is it really a punk rock cryptid that is roaming the rooftops of Delhi, or is this one of the largest cases of mass hysteria? That is probably the best question for this one.
Yeah,
Because to me, this one seems like another frogman, except for it has 2 types, where one's more frogman-like, as the other's more Bigfoot-like.
Yeah, this one was really interesting because when I just took my broad glance at the screenshots of what we're going to be covering that you sent me, I was like, oh, okay, we got 2 more Bigfoot creatures here. Because I did, obviously, our Fouke Monster first. I was like, okay, yeah, there's some differences here, but it's still a Bigfoot-esque creature. And then I got to the Kala Bandar, aka Monkey Man. I was like, this guy is, while there are aspects of him being a Bigfoot creature, he's still fairly different, especially when you see the reports of him wearing like clothes and stuff.
Yeah, so I've heard that he's either wearing a metal helmet, but I've also heard that he's wearing a bicycle helmet, which is like, that was the weirdest part about him. I was like, okay, this is another frogman method. Just settle with that.
Yeah, no, there was a few reports that I read where he's wearing the helmet, but he also has metal claws and like a jumpsuit or something like that. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize it until now, but yeah, this is like a frogman situation. But I would almost believe more believable.
So this one, I think there's been so many reports, and it has caused mass hysteria of Delhi to where the point where some people are actually going out and attacking someone because they think it was Monkey Man. I've had reports of a mailman getting attacked because they thought he was Monkey Man. Some random guy off the street, they thought it was Monkey Man. There's just been so many attacks on other people because people have been thinking it's Monkey Man when it's not. This guy, unlike the Fouke Monster where he's broken in a couple times, this guy breaks into houses almost every night. They're always getting reports that this guy's breaking into houses.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't even piece the because when you look it up, the first thing you'll see is like a brief description, and then many believe it's mass hysteria. And I didn't piece it together for a minute until I started reading the reports of these attacks and deaths. And then I was like, wow, this, because you read like the mass hysteria thing and you're like, no, they use this term really loosely and it doesn't really fit, but this is a case where it really could fit into a mass hysteria thing, which you don't see a lot of throughout history.
Yeah, because I feel like this is a weird one because you would think like Frogman, you'd think that would be mass hysteria. How many giant frogs do you fucking see that are human sized? They're walking on 2 legs. This one is somehow causing more mass hysteria to the point where people are actually getting hurt. Now, it is in India where violence is a little more common than America-ish, but...
Yeah. Well, and another thing that really caught me off guard is, obviously you see animal attacks when you're reading about cryptids and going through them, but this is caused, he is the cause of a lot of injury and in some cases death of just normal people.
And it's from people trying to get away from him, too, that are the deaths. It's not even that he kills them, it's just that they're dying because of him.
Yeah, no, it's something else, and obviously we're going to cover it at the end, but there's a good argument here for a mass hysteria kind of solution to the whole problem. And then one other thing, because when I was reading like the whole outfit and stuff, and I was thinking of the Fouke Monster and all these movies and stuff that have been made of him, I kind of thought, oh yeah, maybe this guy will have a bunch of stuff. And there's like a TV show, a movie, and like a song that feature him, but there was nothing really big on the money making end of it.
Yeah, so there's Monkey Man wearing the helmet and all that, but there's also like because that one's like 5 to 4 feet tall, and the other one I think is 7, right?
Yeah, the other one's more of a typical kind of Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm. Pretty sure most reports are talking about the 4 to 5 one.
Yeah, I read like the baseline. Oh yeah, there's also reports of him being just like your average Bigfoot, 7, 8 feet tall, whatever. But I kind of went in with the mindset that it was the smaller one. There's more reports of it being the smaller one, so I lean more towards it being the smaller one. And then people looking from the outside are kind of saying, "Oh, Bigfoot. It's really just a Bigfoot kind of creature."
Yeah.
Is there anything else we want to cover, history, sightings wise?
No, if you look up any of the sightings, they're all kind of the same. It's someone's getting attacked because they thought they were Monkey Man broke into their house, or Monkey Man killed them because they fell off a building trying to run from him.
Alright, then let's hop into stats, abilities, and characteristics. Starting off with abilities, once again, nothing.
Mm-hmm. I kind of want to think of an ability. If this is causing mass hysteria, do you think it could be part of his ability? Like he just has this mind controlling thing where it makes him think he's chasing them, but he's really just like walking near them. That helmet's enhancing his abilities to
kind of like he's who's the gorilla from DC? Gorilla Grodd. Oh, yeah. He's got like the enhanced brain thing.
Yeah.
Not really. When I think of him putting on like all these pieces of clothes, it almost makes me think he's trying to mimic humans.
Trying to match
almost
humans.
Like a disguise, kind of. And I don't really think of it as more of like he has this mental ability.
Yeah.
At least that's my opinion. I mean, we can throw something down there if you want, but...
No. It's just like one of those things where if it's causing mass hysteria and people are starting to think of it, it's...
Yeah. I think that's more of just an explanation people are throwing out there for why it doesn't exist, more than it could lead into an ability he has. Mm-hmm. Then we have characteristics. I just went, because he's 4 to 5 feet tall, so I just meant in the middle, 4.5 feet tall. Metal helmet, metal claws, black jumpsuit, ? Because there was a couple of cases of it and a depiction, but it wasn't as proficient as the metal claws or the metal helmet.
Yeah.
And then anything else we want to add to characteristics?
Not that I can think of. I'm probably going to lean towards more of a metal helmet, because why the hell would you be wearing a bicycle helmet? It is a monkey, but...
Yeah. Then let's hop into stats. First, we start off with intelligence. I'm thinking he's going to be a little higher on the spectrum, because not only is he wearing a metal helmet,
he's wearing clothes, and he has a weapon.
Metal claws, and I mean, to be able to recognize, where you're going to wear these, maybe he's mimicking people, he has the metal helmet for extra protection, that's got to show some higher form of intelligence.
Now that you bring the mimicking up, do you think he's trying to break into these houses to be like a human?
To try and live
it's
in a house
it's a monkey that broke out of an experiment lab, and he's trying to become a human,
kind of like Planet of the Apes kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's a possibility if we take it that route and give it our own kind of backstory explanation.
Because there's no backstory to this guy, but the more you think about it now that you bring that up, it's kind of like he's breaking into all these houses and he's trying to act like humans, and maybe he sees on the TV that humans kill other humans.
Yeah.
Or just attack other humans.
And maybe stealing stuff to try and make money or something like that, or have possessions like humans.
Yeah. But other than that, he's still wearing, if we go off base, he's wearing clothes that don't provide a lot of protection, especially a tracksuit, but still provide his stuff. And he has fur, and then he has a weapon, and he has a helmet on. He has to have a pretty high intelligence. Not human level, but still pretty close. I would almost probably give him like an 8.
An 8?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking around the ballpark of 8 or 9 myself. Mm-hmm. But I think we can go with an 8 if you don't want to go that close to human.
Yeah, I don't want to, because 9 to me is like Goatman level, where it's just a human trapped in
yeah, kind of brought down a peg because he was warped. Alright, I'm cool with an 8 then. Let's talk power. I think he's going to have a little lower power just because he has more of a nimble body than he does was like more of a bulky build, like
he's not
a regular Bigfoot.
He's not like an ape. He's more of just a monkey.
Yeah.
So he's not big, but he's not small either. He's kind of like a child size.
Yeah. I still wouldn't discount him and put him baseline strength, especially with his claws, because he still is a primate, and so he's going to have that extra strength, especially if he's still moving around agilely with this metal helmet, which has to weigh a lot, and the metal claws. I'd probably put him at around a 7.
I was going to say a 7 as well.
And then we go defense. We got to factor in the metal helmet.
And the fur, too.
And the fur, I don't think it's going to be quite as thick.
Yeah, he's not gonna have thick fur, and he's not gonna have hide that's also thick. So, I'm gonna say either a 7 or a baseline 6.
I kind of like the 7, just because that metal helmet is gonna provide a lot of protection from a good amount of fatal attacks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're cool with the 7.
Yeah.
Alright, now let's hop into mobility. I think is going to be one of his strong suits.
Yeah, like I said, one of the reports, and I'm almost certain it was Monkey Man, says that the man was running. He lost the Monkey Man, went back, and then somehow the Monkey Man he literally heard him tracing behind him. And then I think he fell into a garbage chute or something. But
and if we do presume he's leaping from buildings, like breaking into these places, that shows some good agility.
Mm-hmm.
My only thing would be is he's weighed down by his armor, quote unquote, but he's still moving really quick with it.
He's also a monkey, so he knows how to climb and swing from stuff, which adds on to the mobility. I would say maybe an 8.
Yeah, I was thinking 8, and if he does lose, he's obviously smart enough to know how to put the clothes on and stuff, so I think he'd be intelligent enough to be like, okay, take the helmet off, increase my speed kind of thing.
Put the claws away, increase my ability to grab more stuff.
Yeah. So we'll go for an 8. I think that could factor going up in the midst of battle depending on what he chooses to do, but I think for a base with all equipment on, 8's pretty good. HP?
I'm thinking like 6 to 5. Kind of base human level type stuff.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, he's got the slimmer build and smaller figure. I do kind of want to go for a 5 on this guy. I think base is a pretty good mark for him.
Yeah.
And then lastly, we'll finish it up with some stealth.
He is breaking into houses multiple times.
And the jumpsuit is black. It's not
also,
just some bright colors.
It's also, he's being elusive to the point where people are just thinking that anyone's him.
Yeah, or that he doesn't even truly exist at all.
Yeah.
And he's just some kind of myth.
Mm-hmm.
Which a lot of these guys are, but obviously when we take the stats into account, we see it as they are real. So I'm thinking it's going to be... I believe what's our highest? I think it's 10, which was Chupacabra. I don't think he's Chupacabra levels, but I do think he's going to be pretty high.
8. I don't want to give him another 8, but that's what I'm swinging towards.
Yeah,
8 or 7.
I think it's going to be a little high. I think it's probably going to be an 8. If there were some stronger cases here that I was able to read, I'd probably even be able to go up to a 9. But I think 8's a pretty good standpoint.
He has been elusive to everyone. Like, even I'm pretty sure the cops have gotten involved in this too. Police have been they've been catching reports and going over there,
But at the same time, I would say there are a lot of eyewitness sightings and accounts of this, so I wouldn't rate his stealth 9 or 10.
It's just how he gets in the place. That's why I rate his high. Is that they don't have the reports until he shows up there.
Yeah, I would still agree that it's still high, like an 8, but I don't think it's going to be like where you have the Chupacabra, where there's only like 1 or 2 actual sightings of it, and all the other sightings are just a lot of aftermath.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy is chasing people or something, or it's scaring them to the point where they need to run away after seeing it.
Yeah.
So I think if you're good with an 8, then we just roll with that.
Yeah.
All right. And then we'll do our final roundup. We have characteristics: 4.5 feet tall, metal helmet, metal claws, black jumpsuit. Stats: intelligence of 8, power of 7, defense of 7, mobility of 8, HP of 5, stealth of 8.
This guy's almost more balanced than any other cryptid I think we've done.
Yeah, he doesn't have any 10s, but he really doesn't have any lower stats besides HP.
3 8s and 2 7s. which is already like a wow. Okay, this guy's pretty balanced. He's like if you people that play Elden Rings, he's like a fucking vagabond. He is pretty well rounded in everything, but he's not good in anything else.
Yeah, no, he's what do they call it? A jack of all trades, a master of none.
Mm-hmm.
And then we hop up to the Fouke Monster, who's 7 feet tall, 250 to 300 pounds, 3 toes, natural claws, intelligence of 6, power of 10, defense of 8, mobility of 7, HP of 7, stealth of 6. Now we hop into the main event of every show. But before we do that, we need to settle on a battle arena. What are we thinking for this time around?
It's kind of weird because the Fouke Monster is more in like a swampy area, I'm pretty sure. If I'm right? I don't remember it. But this one's in India. This is like the first cryptid that's in a different environment almost.
Well, yeah, and like a lot of the ones we've seen, they're all just like mostly forest dwelling or some kind of natural environment. As to where the Monkey Man, he's more of an urban cryptid that's only seen in towns and stuff. And then you contrast that with the Fouke Monster, who, like you said, is more of a swampy wilderness forest kind of cryptid.
We'd almost have to make it just a kind of a new one where India has just this swamp area, and that's where the Fouke Monster is, and so we're in the middle. It's a town that edges off right to where a swamp is.
I kind of think maybe we go abandoned city or like an abandoned small town where all the forest is kind of regrown back into the environment and all the greens with broken down houses.
It's Planet of the Apes aftermath. Monkey Man has caused mass hysteria. Everything has happened, and now no humans are left. These two are roaming, scavenging around.
Okay, yeah, he's scavenging what's left of this little town that's been overtaken with forests while the Fouke Monster is just kind of strolling by as they encounter each other.
Yeah.
All right. Who do you think? I'll ask who do you think starts it, but I think the Fouke Monster, in my opinion, would be the aggressor.
Monkey Man seems like he can be an aggressor, but this guy is way more aggressive, and I think also Monkey Man is more smarter than to attack first.
Oh yeah, especially seeing a threat this big, and I would say that the Fouke Monster kind of just sees him. He's like, cool, here's some food, small, easy to kill prey. Just sees the figure, and he's going after it. Now, I think the Fouke Monster, the Monkey Man, would be smart enough to realize he needs to take high ground from this creature. That's more of his thing, is being able to climb and move around.
Yeah.
So maybe he enters a building or climbs to a rooftop.
Yeah, I think he would start, if we're talking about like taller buildings, he'd just start going from windowsill, like kind of Dynamite style, and just climbing up onto a roof.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we can't just have him run away, even though that would be the logical thing. So who do you think would initiate the first attack?
I think if anything, it goes Fouke Monster attacking first, but it wasn't able to attack because of the mobility of the Monkey Man. So he jumps up on a roof, and then he gets onto the back of the Fouke Monster, and he starts slashing away.
Yeah, I was going to pretty much agree with what you said. Like, I think the Monkey Man would definitely go for more of a drop attack and kind of a surprise attack, maybe disappear into some buildings, come around. Just because that's like the only kind of advantage attack he would have is a quick sneak attack to a weak point.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the Fouke Monster is really strong. I think while the Monkey Man would be able to get some good hits on the back,
it's not going to really do much to him.
No, I mean, the Fouke Monster's got that really high defense. I think eventually you'd be able to maybe grab him from the back and just either throw him or start just like pulling on him. But he definitely, I think, eventually would be able to get him off his back.
I think he's grabbing him and throwing him right into a building.
Right into a building,
like through some glass. But since Monkey Man has the helmet, it doesn't really affect him as much. It's kind of like a head first, goes through the window into the building, and then the Fouke Monster is kind of just waiting.
Yeah, I think maybe he takes a little damage, but he definitely doesn't take any like big damage because he does have the helmet to protect him.
Now, I think at this point, this is when the Monkey Man's intelligence kind of comes in, and he starts trying to lure this guy into the building, into like a little more of a closed space but darker area, so that the Fouke Monster can't really move around as much, but Monkey Man has maneuverability to just like swing off of him and go from place to place.
I agree, and I think not only would it be the smarts of the Monkey Man, I think it would just be more of the aggressive, primal nature of the Fouke Monster to be like, I threw him, he's distracted, I'm going to rush in and go get him. Because while this guy is above mid-intelligence, he's still more of just a primal kind of creature that's, I see my prey, attack. And so he's going to be chasing after him into the building.
Fouke Monster's crawling through a window like fucking Mr. Huggy style, arms first, comes out with the head and then the legs come through. And then he sees the Monkey Man, but then Monkey Man kind of just I imagine it's kind of like a shop area, and so he just disappears behind some shells. And now Fouke is fucking launching all these shells out of the way, trying to find this guy.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the Monkey Man would definitely go for the stealth approach. It's where he has the advantage, and the Fouke Monster, just being a savage, is just knocking shit over, just trying to find him or draw him out or something. Mm-hmm. Now, I definitely think the Fouke Monster, while he is enraged, would still kind of be aware of more of a sneak attack. He knows maybe I'm in the disadvantage here, so he's just more aware while he's still thrashing around.
Yeah.
But I could still see the Monkey Man maybe getting a quick attack, maybe on his legs or something, or on his side.
I think the Monkey Man, if anything, is getting actually a couple attacks. I think he's going in, and as soon as like a fucking shelf is getting attacked, he goes in for a slash on the leg, and then after that, the Fouke Monster kind of has an instinct to go like this, and then he goes in for another slash, and then he runs away. And I think for a couple of good hits, that can last. I don't think it will do much. If anything, it will just slow the Fouke Monster where he can't run. He can only really walk.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think at that point, maybe the Monkey Man, he gets hit a couple times, so he decides, okay, we're getting out of here, and he goes into back outside where he knows he has the advantage also.
Yeah, I definitely could see him getting some attacks and kind of whittling away at his health. I think he would have to retreat after a while. I agree with that, because it's like you can only do so many more sneak attacks. You're gonna run out of hiding places. Mm-hmm. And I think more of the Monkey Man strategy here, in my opinion, would just be to exhaust this guy and wear him down. He is gonna be suffering from a little bit of blood loss from the attack.
That's what
he's expending all this energy to knock over all these shells and find him.
It's also that's what I think what I was going with for the Monkey Man, is that he's trying to slow him down to the point where he can't really run and do anything and follow Monkey Man at all. He can't go upstairs onto a building when Monkey Man's climbing up walls and stuff.
Yeah.
And since Monkey Man's known to be able to leap from building to building and not have to worry,
he's almost got like an inexhaustible amount of stamina. Mm-hmm. So where do you think the fight would take him next?
And now they're probably going to be in the streets. They're just back where they started, but instead of going through the window with Monkey Man flying through the window, he runs out, and that's when Fouke Monster just plows through the fucking wall.
Yeah. I definitely think the Fouke Monster now is at a disadvantage. I think he's exhausted and he's kind of worn down. While not suffering any like life-threatening injury, he is starting to lose some blood and he's starting to feel it. Yeah. While we have the Monkey Man who's only taken minimal amount of damage and has just kind of been thrown around a little bit.
I will say, with the hits that Fouke can probably land on him, since he does have claws too, I'm sure the Monkey Man has got scratched on the leg pretty bad. And this guy has been known to pretty much dent cars and slash them to the point where you can see inside the car from these slashes.
Yeah.
So I think Monkey Man has gotten pretty wounded himself. I don't think his endurance is as bad as how Fouke is feeling it right now, but they're kind of both dwindling down to the finale of this. Now, Fouke has blasted through the wall. He now has tools to his advantage to deal with Monkey Man running through everywhere. He has rocks. And I think he has a high enough intelligence. While he doesn't know how the weapon use, he has seen Monkey Man doing it. He has a high intelligence to learn from people. He probably stalks people in Fouke that were like, oh, okay, this is how they get in. This is how they would get in. If this happened, this is how they get in with that. So by learning from the Monkey Man of this guy's using a weapon entirely, he grabs rocks and just starts chucking them at him.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think that the Monkey Man would still have a good enough stamina pool and stuff to keep dodging. I think where it matters for him, though, is if he can sneak away one more time and get another surprise attack. I really think a surprise attack could make the difference here. Because if not, if he just goes in for straight attacks, it might be the end for him.
Yeah.
But then it just comes down to, now that they're out in the open, it's going to be a lot easier for the Fouke Monster to keep an eye on the Monkey Man.
Yeah, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because it is, but at the same time, Monkey Man also kind of has the home field advantage here, being in the city. So he does know his way through buildings because he's seen all of these buildings before, and they're all kind of the same. If anything, Monkey Man is definitely leaping out on him, I think. If anything, Monkey Man leaps out and runs out, but with Fouke just bashing through this wall, he kind of went up instead. He crawled up on the window, and he's just waiting for Fouke to go out.
Okay.
And that's when he gets the stealth attack on him.
And do you think that would bring the fight to the end, that final attack?
Yeah. Honestly, I can see this almost ending in a draw. Because I think Monkey Man would get the final hit and kill Fouke. Because at that point, the only thing he needs to do is just dig these claws straight into his neck. The back of his neck, he's done. And then I also see Fouke digging his claws into Monkey Man's back and just fucking full force him into a wall as his final act.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like as he's dying, he just flings Monkey Man into the back of a building and fucking breaks his back or something.
Yeah. I think in most cases, stealth, while it does play an advantage early on, usually ends up falling back later on into the fight. I think, in my opinion, this is one of the scenarios where stealth is probably going to lead to more wins than not for me. Because if we're talking about that scenario, Monkey Man obviously has a lot of knowledge, and he's using weapons, and he's watching these people breaking in their houses, observing humans. I can see him almost grabbing like a knife or something that was left behind from the humans, jumping down with the force of the weapon, and he could even do this early on, just for some extra damage, and just drive it into the Fouke Monster and take it out that way.
He can leave it in there. And usually when you leave a weapon in, whenever you get damage and you have something puncture you, you want to leave it in for blood loss. But if he really wants to do damage, that's when he rips it out and throws it somewhere else. And then the Fouke's bleeding out as he's...
And honestly, I don't even see the Fouke Monster being intelligent enough himself to know to leave it in, and I could see him just pulling it out or something like that and doing more damage to himself.
Yeah. I still think that this is most likely this entire fight won in a draw. That's just how I see it is. It's that the final hit, Monkey Man stabs him, and then he gets thrown, and it's something harms him enough to where he's pretty bad, and he's most likely going to die after.
Yeah. I could see the draw ending. Personally, from the way I do the fights, I run through the scenarios as we're talking more and more through my head. I want to give the edge to the Monkey Man, in my opinion. I think stealth wins overpower in this instance. A lot to do with the battle and where it's taking place. I think the stealth really comes into a big factor throughout the entire fight.
It's kind of
tied on with his intelligence.
It's kind of like a hero going against a titan type of deal, where the hero is smaller, but he's definitely smarter and has more of an ability to do stuff than the giant will.
Oh yeah. And I think, like in a lot of our fights, it's the heavy hitter who usually always wins. Because when you're in the forest, there's only so many trees you can hide behind to fool a natural predator who lives in that area. Mm-hmm. But I think, like I said earlier, this being buildings in a city, it's easier to disappear into. Not every building is the same. You can get to higher heights, move through the different streets and tunnels and stuff like that. In the Fouke Monster, while he does observe people from the distance, his home is the forest compared to the Monkey Man, whose homes is the city. In my opinion, though, I do think Monkey Man is going to take the edge in this one. Would you agree, or are you still in the draw?
Yeah, a lot of the scenarios, Monkey Man does win. I just know that draw is probably the most likely thing to happen. But Monkey Man does have the majority of wins here.
Yeah, I think the main fight, taking everything into account, I would definitely see Monkey Man and Fouke Monster tying. But in my opinion, taking on all different aspects of different fights, I think I see Monkey Man winning more fights. Especially, I think he wins a lot more fights early on finishes compared to, I mean, really the only way the Fouke Monster could win early on is a lucky grab.
Yeah.
I think the Monkey Man just has too many early wins with sneak attacks in different scenarios, and I just think catching him is a difficult task for the Fouke Monster.
Yeah, how I see the Fouke Monster, he's kind of like a giant ape, and so he's going to be a little slower, but he's definitely a lot stronger. But Monkey Man's literally just a monkey, where you always see him just disappear out of nowhere.
So we're giving the win to Monkey Man overall.
Yeah.
Then we welcome Monkey Man into the Hall of Champions. He has set his own mark in the world, taking the first real stealth win. There might have been others, but as far as I can remember at this very moment, he takes the first stealth win.
I think a lot of stealth wins have been like this is a one-time thing, so it doesn't factor in. This one, it factors in a lot.
Oh yeah, very heavily. Well, we welcome him into the Hall of Champions. The Fouke Monster will have another chance at a belt when he returns for the Cryptid mashup and rehash. This is our third fight into the entry of mashup and rehash, and then we only have one more set of fights to go before we hop into it. Scheduling wise, I think it's about a month away because we're going to do another Cryptid versus Conspiracies before this one.
So everyone that doesn't know our schedule yet, we're trying to lengthen out the Cryptid versus Cryptids because we will run out eventually.
Yeah.
So
Cryptid versus Conspiracy brings
a lot more to the table.
It brings more to the table. It's still similar to what we do, and it helps us explore other things that we're interested in.
Yeah. So Cryptid versus Conspiracy will be the next episode, and then Cryptid versus Cryptid will be the next, and that's just how it's going to be. So my whole dream of it is to be the first 2 weeks of a month, it's Cryptid versus Conspiracy, then Cryptid versus Cryptid at the end of the month.
Yeah. And like we typically do with the mashup and rehash, we'll be bringing a new voice to the podcast in that episode. I don't know who it's going to be yet, but that's just how we always do things around here.
Yeah.
Now, we got off topic for a second there, talking about scheduling for episodes. Let's finish it up with what we usually end these episodes with. Believability. You want to hit us with the Monkey Man? Since we started with Fouke Monster, we'll end starting with Monkey Man.
Monkey Man's a hard one because at a little point of like thinking it logically, you can see something like this happening, kind of, but at the same time, if you think too logically, it can't happen, and it is almost mass hysteria type of deal. And so I'm like kind of yes and no on this one. There's some instances where I think it could be, but other instances where it could just be mass hysteria.
Yeah, I think I really delve into the not believing side of this. I think there was probably a spree of break-ins going on, and people just, however, got this idea of this monkey creature doing these things, and it just spread like wildfire throughout the city. And I think every kind of break-in, robbery kind of thing just got misidentified as this cryptid breaking into these people's homes. And it really delved for me when I read about it wearing this helmet and this jumpsuit and these metal claws or whatever. I think it could have just been the mass hysteria thing and people seeing robbers dressed up in these outfits, all black. Maybe one time they had a helmet on, and the middle fingers could have just been gloves, like white gloves or gray gloves or something like that.
Yeah.
I think
knuckles with little spikes on them.
Yeah, it could have been anything like that, but this isn't one I put a lot of belief into. As far as Fouke Monster goes, I kind of like it. I think there aren't a lot of sightings that go way back for this creature. I want to put it into the Bigfoot category for me. I think it could be a Bigfoot gone mad. Maybe it has rabies or something, so it's more aggressive than your typical Bigfoot. And there aren't way out of hand sightings. It kind of has come around early on in the 70s, and then the sightings just dwindled down. It could have died, disappeared. Maybe it was reaching its end of its lifespan, so it kind of went crazy. And then I think a lot of the sightings were either misidentifications or just a normal Bigfoot sighting that was seen in this area, so it got taken as the Fouke Monster. So I would put slight believability on this guy. If not, it was just misidentification of a Bigfoot.
Yeah, I would definitely put this in a Bigfoot category. If anything, I think it's more of like a mutated Bigfoot. It does only have three toes, which is like a weird mutation type deal, and it just kind of fits the Bigfoot category mostly than any other one, like more than skunk ape, not more than the Yeti.
Yeah, those are the two things that kind of hurt the believability as far as it being a Bigfoot creature for me. Because that's where a lot of the believability for me comes in, is tying it to Bigfoot. Is the 3 toes and the claws, but it could just be a genetic mutation.
Yeah.
And maybe this is just a cryptid, a Bigfoot that was born just genetically different from others. And maybe because it's genetically different, it's more aggressive on top of these 3 toes.
He
and
got bullied
claws.
as a Bigfoot kid.
And now it seeks revenge. But I think that rounds up about the whole episode we got here this week.
Yeah.
Do we do anything usually for closing statements?
It's usually the same.
We went from doing our typical, email us in the beginning, then we switched it to the end.
Yeah.
And now it's back to the beginning.
Yeah, pretty much. If you have any questions or you have any feedback on what we did, our email, cryptidversuscryptid@gmail.com. All the social medias, all those. I'm sure we have enough information there. We post what episodes we'll be doing next, what's going on, if we have missed scheduling, anything there.
Yeah, just kind of major updates for the podcast. Next episode coming in 2 weeks. It'll be our first episode for the month, or final episode in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'll just double check. But it will be an episode of Cryptids versus Conspiracies. We'll be diving into our second episode. I don't know if you have any teasers for what it's going to be.
I have a couple of things I want to talk. I'm pretty big on conspiracies, and there's so many to talk about at a time, but I just gotta run them by you. So I'm sure if we find out, we'll tease it in social media, and that's how you guys can find out about it.
Yeah. So if you like what we do here, be sure to... Oh, that was one other thing to round up the episode. Now, podcasts can get ratings on Spotify. So if you enjoy what we do here, and you've been following us for a long time, or you're a new listener, give us 5 stars on Spotify. It helps the show grow.
We will read them out, too.
Actually, they're just star ratings. You can't leave any comments, unfortunately.
But you know what? We'll bring you up. We'll be like, this guy, rated us 5 stars. This guy's a legend.
Hell yeah. And yeah, like I just said a second ago, this brings the episode to an end. If you enjoy what we do here, come back again in 2 weeks. Or go back and listen to all our prior episodes. There's over 20 episodes of Cryptid versus Cryptid to some degree.
Oh god, 20 episodes in.
Oh yeah, we've been doing this for over a year now. Feels like we just started yesterday, and it's as much of a pain in the ass as it was in episode 1. But we love it, so that's why we keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
This has been us at Cryptid versus Cryptid, signing off.
Later.
See ya.